Hello and welcome back to another Blu-ray update video. Feels weird to be saying that. I hope you're all doing well, given the circumstances we're all currently living through, and the less said about that in a Blu-ray update video, the better, I think. But it is worth noting before we get into this is a huge Blu-ray update for me, because usually I like to do them every month. I didn't do one for February. And then March, I was getting things in, and I thought, okay, I'll do a February one and a March one. And then by the end of March, it was like, who the fuck cares? And also, I can't really distinguish which Blu-rays were bought in February, which Blu-rays were bought in March for the most part. So it's all going into one big two-part Blu-ray update for February and March of 2020. And also, I wanted to mention that, in the situation we're in right now with the virus and everything, a lot of people are having to stay at home, people are out of jobs, and it's a crazy time. Currently I am in the self-isolation stage because of my asthma, so I'm in a lucky position, I guess, with work, but it's still like a dicey situation where things can change at any time. So it's a lot of stress, and you look at a big stack of Blu-rays that you bought and you think, man, what a waste of fucking money. But then there's the opposite of that, where it's like, hey, here's all the films that I've bought, and now I have all this time to watch them. And also, what we need right now are distractions. We're being told to stay at home. That's the best thing that we can do. And so watching films is certainly something that helps with that. And, we're seeing a lot of rightful praise for all of the people on the kind of front lines, as they say, both in the NHS and all of the healthcare systems around the world, but also, grocery workers. I was working through a couple of weeks of the whole, when the panic was really starting to settle in, and anyway, but I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, yeah, so of course there's definitely the the praise being heaped onto the people who are really keeping this country and this world going by going out there and working during all of this. And I have the utmost respect for every single one of them, no matter what the job is, no matter how big, how small. If you're out there, if you're out of your house, I applaud you. It's a rough one, it really is. But there also is something to be said for the arts having a real because people tend to overlook it, and you're seeing a lot of like cinemas going out of business and so on and so forth. And what do we do in these times where we have to kind of be cooped up? We're entertained by the arts, and so there's definitely something to be said for that as well. Obviously, it's not as vital or as key to our survival, but it certainly helps a lot when people are having to stay at home and dealing with the despair and the loneliness in some cases, if they're isolating alone, and people are separated from their families. I'm separated from my family. Connie is. It's rough. It's rough. Anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to mention it. You're going to be seeing some stuff over the next few weeks that has been recorded months ago, so I'm having more time to get to that. But it's a really rough one. Anyway, I'm going to split this into two videos, and definitely, again, like I was saying, you look at it and you think, wow, now we're in like a period of financial uncertainty as a world, I think, because who knows how long we're going to be able to last it the way that we are, and what's going to happen when things go back to normal, relatively speaking. So finances are an interesting thing, and certainly the notion of buying lots of Blu-rays has completely left my mind. But I have a big stack of movies here, so I have overall about 36 Blu-rays, over 40 really when you count all the movies involved. So I'm going to split this into two parts. So I kind of separated them into special ones and also recent releases, and then I got some stuff from Poundland and also stuff from a HMV sale. Now HMV have been doing this clearance sale for months and months now, but they recently, about a month or so ago, had loads of new titles in. So I grabbed quite a few of those, and then there's another sale they did on, I think it's 101 Films. Is that the studio? 101 Films. I got some of that. I got an Arrow Video, Criterion there, a box set, an import. So I've kind of split this up a little bit. In this video, I'm going to be talking about new releases and some Poundland pickups. So here we go. But actually no, before we even get to that, I'm really teasing you here before starting this fucking thing, but I have to call out something when I see it. And it's not comfortable when you see something and you say that ain't right. and I've seen something that isn't right, and I have to call this person out. I don't want to cause any drama on YouTube or anything, but this really needs to be highlighted, and the person who has done this in the Blu-ray community needs to be shamed for this. Again, I try and avoid drama, but it just has to be done. So there's a YouTuber called RazorwireReviews, and he does lots of Blu-ray update videos. And in his most recent Blu-ray update video, he showed this title, Horror Express, Arrow Video title, starring Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. And he was very excited about this. He loves train movies. But the problem was that I watch all of his Blu-ray update videos quite religiously, and I noticed that he had already picked that up in a previous Blu-ray update video. I mean, how sad does someone have to be? Again, no offense to the guy, but how sad does someone have to be to have bought something, like a boutique label item as well? This is no Poundland crap. To have bought an Arrow Video title and not know that you have already bought it. I mean, what a fucking idiot. I mean, I just had to say it, you know. It is what it is. And I also noticed as well that a few months ago, he showed off the film Southpaw that he got from HMV. And I know for a fact that he also bought that from Poundland. So, I mean, maybe he, you know, is at least glad that he got one with a slipcover. But, I mean, who knows? We can't speak to him right now, can we? Anyway, now that I've called that guy out, let's get on with my Blu-ray update video. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new-ish releases. First, we're going to get into the boutique stuff. This one is a BFI title of the film Bait by Mark Jenkin. I've talked about this film on my channel. I did a Conquering My Collection video of this. It was a rare one for me where I ordered this. It came in the post. I watched it that night, made a video about it, had a lot to say. So there's an extended video of me talking about this film in depth. But for those who don't know, it is a British film that was made last year, 2019 release, and it is about a fisherman in Cornwall. I think it's in Cornwall, but it's really unique in the way that it's filmed. It's actually filmed on a hand-cranked, I think, 16mm camera. All the sound is done after the fact. He hand-processed the film himself, the director, so it's really scratchy and imperfect, and it looks like a film that could have been made like 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's a really strange but really interesting film. I didn't love it completely, but I really loved the technical aspects of it. There was a beauty to the kind of the damage of the film and the way that he, you know, laid the film out. I thought was very interesting. Some kind of impressionistic editing at times, but you know, kind of harken back to the silent era and the kind of the Soviet editing. Kind of, I don't know, there's something about it, and it might just be the way that it looks that makes me think of the silent era, but it certainly felt like watching, you know, the early steps of cinema, but through like a modern day set film in Cornwall. It was very strange, but I highly recommend it. Bait. This one I am so happy to have in my collection. I saw this film and fell in love with it. It's another film I've done a video on very recently. And I wanted to get the Blu-ray, wanted to get it in high definition and everything, but there was a limited edition version of it with 2 discs. The second disc had a load of extras that I was really interested in, but it was out of print. It went out of print very quickly, and so I was really disappointed. I was looking on eBay, and it was going for like £50, and I just thought, are you kidding me? And I just thought, I don't know, maybe... And part of me wanted to almost pay that because I love this film so much, and I wanted the limited edition with the extras, you know. I was even going to try and get Graham at Man v Film, who I do the Blu-ray Brothers podcast. No, the Blu-ray Brothers... Wow, I said the Blu-ray Brothers podcast. I'll leave that one in for free. He did call me Brian during one of the episodes, so I think it's only fair that I leave that one in for free. The Blu-ray Condition podcast, though, shout out to my fellow Blu-ray Brothers, Robbie Webster and Ryan Chataway, who did that collaboration channel with me in 2014. If you haven't been following my channel for long enough to remember that, when I did a collaboration channel with 2 other YouTubers called the Blu-ray Brothers. Now, this Blu-ray came out again in the limited edition form. I don't know if they found more copies, but the company said, hey, Arrow have put a load more back up on sale. And I thought, holy shit. But then I also saw a link on eBay that was a little bit cheaper. So it was like £18, pretty much the price that it was when it came out. So I jumped on it, and it came through. Couldn't be happier. One Cut of the Dead. This is one of my favorite films of 2019. I almost went to see this when I lived in London. They were showing it at the Prince Charles Cinema. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting, you know, and it would have been so great to see that in the cinema with people in there seeing it for the first time. But it is what it is. Me and Connie watched this a few months ago We loved this film. I highly recommend going to check out the video that we did on it if you have any interest in my thoughts on this film. But it was a film that it's a bit like Parasite. Go in as blind as you possibly can, but know that it is incredible and stick with it, because the first half an hour is a little bit rough, but there's a real reason for that. It's essentially a zombie kind of comedy, but it's hard to put in a box because it's so unique, and it just, the opening half an hour is interesting. It's slightly off kilter, a little bit weird. You're not quite sure what's going on. And then something changes, and you're like, oh, wow, this really changes everything, and it's really interesting. And then it lulls a little bit in the middle. And then once you realize what the third act is, it just makes the first two acts are fully strengthened by the third, and it is just an absolute blast in the last 30 minutes. It's about an hour and a half. 96 minutes. Oh, it's actually, it says in the back of the Blu-ray, 96 minutes. So they kind of forgot to put the M in there. Always love typos on Blu-ray covers, but this was a hugely successful film for how low budget it was, and I highly recommend. I mean, just you can buy the regular Blu-ray fairly inexpensively, I think, but incredible film, Japanese film, phenomenal. Please check it out, and I'd love to hear people's thoughts on it if they have seen it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite films in years. It really is that good. The next one is a really brand new release. This is one of the last two Blu-rays that I've bought. And it was like just on the cusp of the whole virus thing and the lockdown happening. I wasn't sure if it was going to come through in the mail or not, but it did. And I've been looking forward to this so much. It is Dragons Forever. This is the 88 Films release of Jackie Chan's Dragons Forever. Actually, no, it's Sammo Hung's Dragons Forever. So this stars the trio of Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Biao. I don't know what it is. I can never find any video of anyone saying his name to the point where I feel like that's the correct way to pronounce it in English. But Yuen Biao is the closest I can get. And if anyone's watching this and they're cringing, please let me know how to say that properly. But these three guys, they're just absolute magic together. This is another one that I got and watched straight away. Was so excited for this. I'd seen the previous two films that they did together, Project A and also Wheels on Meals, yes, which me and Connie covered in Project Jackie, which was a kind of a long-form Jackie Chan series that I did last year for Asian Cinema Season 2. And Project Jackie will make a brief return this year for this and maybe a few other films. I mean, there's a few more that I've got from the 88 Films range, and they're announcing and releasing more. It seems like they can't even keep up themselves with how many new Jackie Chan films they're releasing. But they've done, I think, the main ones now. So it's kind of like the more interesting ones that they're releasing at this point. But this was a big one for me because Wheels on Meals... No, was it Wheels on Meals? Meals on Wheels was such a great film, but it was capped off by... Well, it was not a great film, but it was such an entertaining film with great moments. But what really capped it off was how great the final fight sequence is between Jackie Chan and Benny the Jet Urquidez, I believe his name is. So you have this American kickboxer, I think he's American, this kickboxer coming in to do a fight scene with Jackie Chan, and it's just amazing. It's one of the best fight scenes ever put to film in Wheels on Meals. And I'd heard that they did a rematch in this film, Dragons Forever. So not only is this a film with the kind of the three brothers, the three dragons, whatever you want to call them, these guys who grew up together doing martial arts and breaking into the movie industry, and they made these three films where they're all in it. They have such a chemistry together, both comedically but physically, and the stuff that Sammo Hung does, the stuff that Yuen Biao does, and Jackie Chan. This film is just, it's so much fun, but the fight scene at the end in the factory is just... It is next level. And this Blu-ray is absolutely stunning. I mean, you have like the synopsis of the film in this small box of text here. And then you just have all of the special features here. And that's just the first disc. Then you have the second. They went all out with this one. There's 2 discs. There's 3 versions of the film, all restored from a 4K source. The original Hong Kong version, remastered Cantonese audio, all sorts of different audio differences, which I know a lot of people are really passionate about. I haven't grown up with these films, so I don't have an affinity to the English versions, but they have like the classic English dub hybrid, which is the Golden Harvest soundtrack, filled with fortune stars for sections not present in the export version. There's audio commentaries. There's also, I mean, there's definitely 3 versions of the film, right? Yes, okay, so there's the export version of the film, and then also the Cyclone Z cut of the film, which is the Japanese cut, basically, which has 2 extra scenes and outtakes with the ending. So we watched the Japanese cut because I asked on the Bluray.com forum what's the best version to watch for a beginner to this film, and they said just to go with the Japanese cut because it has the 2 extra scenes, and it was great. The film looked stunning. But just seeing that fight sequence was just, it was worth the wait. It was so worth the wait, and yeah, there's lots more to talk about with this. I'll be doing a separate video, but I loved that film so much. Speaking of another film I loved so much, this is the last Blu-ray I'll probably be buying for quite a while. I tell a lie, I did keep an order for the new Buster Keaton Masters of Cinema release, just because it was selling out so quickly. I didn't want to miss it, but this I think I pre-ordered it 2 months ago, and I wasn't sure which version to get. This is a 2019 film that I absolutely love, and saw it in the cinema last year, really enjoyed it, then saw it again at my local peer cinema, and that was one of my favorite cinema experiences ever, I think. I'd seen the film before, but watching it again, knowing everything that happens, it was a much more like textured viewing, because I could see a lot of the tricks and a lot of the things that were building up. It was just really well done watching it for a second time, but everyone in that room was loving it. All the jokes were playing. It was a great cinema experience. So I had to get the Blu-ray as soon as it came out, but I wasn't sure whether to get the Steelbook, which is a gorgeous Steelbook, or this one, which for me, what tipped it is the physical extras that come with it, and the Blu-ray and the film is Knives Out. So this just came in a couple of days ago. This is the 4K version from HMV, and it is their first edition, special edition, basically. They've done a few of these. I think the first one they did was the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood release from Tarantino. And then they're doing one with that new Nicolas Cage film, I think, Color Out of Space or something like that. And also The Lighthouse, I think. And they vary in terms of what comes with it, but this is like a 4K slipcase. And then inside you have the movie, you have like a big stack of art cards of all the characters in the film. And there's also, which kind of sold it for me, was this physical extra. It is a Harlan Thrombey novella. So this is hook, line, and sinker. And it's completely, except for the Lionsgate logo on the back, or Lionsgate copyright notice, it's completely tailored to look like a Harlan Thrombey. I mean, even on the opening page, you have like, a Knives Out company, Blood Like Wine Publishing in the bottom corner. So this is like a legitimate like mini novella. I haven't read it yet. And I really want to know if Ryan Johnson, the writer-director of this film, wrote this. But I haven't been able to find out yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. And yeah, the 4K version, do I need it? Nope. Am I going to have a 4K TV anytime soon? Nope. Am I going to have a 4K TV anytime soon, considering everything that's going on in the world right now? Definitely not. But, it's a way of future-proofing it. And I really like that you have the poster artwork on the outer case, and on the inside you have a different one. So it's like you get kind of 2 for the price of 1, and I love the yellow spine. It really offsets the black case, and really cool. So there is actually a 2-hour making of documentary on this release, and the guy who put this disc together is actually on the Bluray.com forums, and he was talking about how much effort he put into the extras on this. He put together and edited the making of documentary, and talked about like really being like considerate to fans of special features in terms of including the trailers and the viral ads and stuff on the Blu-ray. I think the trailers are on there, and deleted scenes, but there's 2 audio commentaries as well, so there's a lot of stuff on here. And I did watch the 2-hour making of yesterday and today. It's a really good one, but the film itself is great. I don't think I've made a video about it actually, so I don't know, but it's your kind of your typical murder mystery with a little bit of a twist, in that you kind of find out what happens in the first act of the film, and then it's more about not who did it, but well, actually, I don't even want to spoil things. I've talked about it before, actually, in my RazorwireReviews Film Awards video, actually, I think. So yeah, I guess you can get more of my thoughts there. But the way that it kind of, in a way, it is a whodunit, but in a way, it's also like, can the person who did it get away with it? And then it's also, there's another twist that's kind of thrown in there. There's all these different, it's the way that it flows up and down, and it's consistently entertaining throughout. Fantastic film. Love Ryan Johnson, and it was nice to get like a nice edition for it. The steelbook is gorgeous. I really wish I'd got that because it looks like a novel, like it looks like a book cover, a really, really cool design, but I stuck with that. I wanted to get the novella, I suppose, and yeah. So that is that. Wow, I feel like I've done a whole Blu-ray update video already, and I'm not even like close to digging into the pile here. I guess the reason is I actually had things to say about these films. Have I seen? Yes, I've seen all the films that I've shown already. If you know my Blu-ray update videos, you'll know that it's always like, haven't seen it, looks good, haven't seen it, so I can kind of rattle through them fairly quickly, but it is what it is. And there's the next three I've all seen. So the next three are actually just standard studio releases, which I don't normally get, and I guess I'll get to it when I get to it, but first up here is It Chapter 2, which is technically, I think I got that in January, and I forgot to include it in the last Blu-ray update. This is another one that has a really good making-of documentary. It's called The Summers of It, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. So this is actually a feature-length making-of documentary of both It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. There's some really cool stuff in there, particularly when they're making the first It movie in 2016. And what's his name, the director? Will it say on the back here? Andy Muschietti. So his sister works with him and produces these movies as well. And there's a behind-the-scenes shot of her, I guess on a laptop or something, while they're making It Chapter 1. And she just says to the camera, I just want to let you know that we want Jessica Chastain to play Beverly in the next one. Just to kind of, just throw it out there into the ether, and of course she ended up doing that. And obviously they had worked with her before, so it was a bit more, it seemed like it could probably happen, but that was definitely like a dream casting that people really wanted that ended up just happening, which is really cool. I liked the film a lot. I really enjoyed it in the cinema. Haven't revisited it since. I think Connie watched the Blu-ray of this on her own when I was probably in bed or something. Because I'm not an early waker on my days off, but she tends to watch movies in the morning sometimes when I'm not conscious, I suppose. But yeah, I wasn't too keen on revisiting the movie right away, but I really wanted to see that making-of documentary and maybe listen to the audio commentary as well. But also just to get the nice slipcover, because I have the first one with a nice slipcover, so it just, nice matching set. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed It Chapter 2. I'm looking forward to, well, I already have kind of watched both of them back to back before because we went to the midnight premiere of It Chapter 2, which had the It Chapter 1 playing right before it. So it was a lot of It at the same time, so I feel like I'm good for a while, but nice to pick it up, add it to the collection, and that making of documentary, it's about 70 minutes long, was a really good one. This is a great one, and the reason for picking this one up so early, because again with these new studio releases, they tend to drop in price drastically if you only just wait a few months. Even if you wait a year, you can pick it up for pennies. So it was just one of those things where it's like, do I want it with a nice slipcover, or shall I just wait? Joker is a big one for me. It was a film I really want to buy and own, but the slipcover wasn't amazing, and I don't feel like watching it anytime soon. I saw it 3 times in the cinema, so I'll wait for that to go down in price down the line. But this one I really wanted to buy straight away because it has a director's cut. And I'm going to do a separate video on this because there's so much to get into, but it's Dr. Sleep, with Ewan McGregor playing Danny Torrance. I mean, who would have ever... I'll leave that one for free. Who would have ever thought that a film that is a sequel to the Stanley Kubrick Shining, but also an adaptation of Stephen King's book Dr. Sleep, and it just the way that this is done. Mike Flanagan directed this. I think he wrote the film as well, actually. Because it is a sequel to the Kubrick film, very much part and parcel. It uses the imagery and locations from that film, continues the story of the characters, as depicted in that film, with different actors, which I thought was a great move, by the way. I don't think I've done like a video on this movie, but I loved this film, one of my favorites of 2019. A real surprise. It was one of those films just like, yeah, I'll go see that, Ewan McGregor, Shining sequel, ooh, okay. But man, it really blew me away, in a very subtle way. It isn't a film that wows you. There's a few scenes that are kind of like awe-inspiring, but it's a real slow. It digs its heels into you, for me. And the director's cut is like, I think 20 minutes longer than the original. No, half an hour, 28 minutes longer than the theatrical cut. So it is a 3 hour on the dot director's cut. So we watched this, and man, it's like a completely different edit of the film. Well, it's a completely different edit of the film in some ways. In other ways, it's kind of the same. It doesn't really reshuffle things, but there's so much that you wouldn't even realize. I think it's moviecensorship.com or moviecensorship.org, which you can find lots of comparisons to different versions of films, and that was kind of my key to kind of going, okay, what is different about this director's cut? And in some director's cuts, it's a new scene that's added in the middle or put here and put there. This is like a completely different edit of the film, just in the terms of like lines of dialogue. There's so many like just scenes from the theatrical cut that just have like 2 new lines in them, or like they'll use different shots in some cases, replace shots from the theatrical with different takes. I think there's over 120 variants in the director's cut. There were new scenes, obviously. It's like 28 minutes longer, but there's also just all these little subtle things that are added here and there. The film is separated into chapters. That's the biggest kind of stylistic difference, but I want to talk about the director's cut in a separate video and really get into it. But yeah, I was really impressed with the director's cut. I think it made it an even better film for me because the film itself already felt like a slow burn novel-esque movie. Like it felt like a Stephen King novel more than maybe any Stephen King adaptation that I've seen, I think. And the added running time just added to that feeling of just really settling into this, and love this film. And the director's cut was, I think, even better. And then finally this one, which is the last new release of the bunch. I haven't even like opened this one yet, but I kind of thought I want to get it with a nice slipcover because I really like this film, and I want to put it proudly in my Terminator collection. It is Terminator Dark Fate. So I was in Tesco getting some shopping, and I thought, I'll get that. I'll buy that right here and now. 15 quid, it's pricey for a new release, but fuck it. And I want to see the extras, which I'm assuming are going to be very surface level, not much going on there really, but it is what it is. I wish there was like some commentary or something, a little bit more like a proper making of documentary, but beggars can't be choosers these days. And the things that you see on like the It Chapter 2 Blu-ray and particularly the Knives Out documentary, those things are getting few and far between these days. So you learn not to expect such things. But this film, whoa, what a movie. Really underrated, I think. I mean, is it as great as Terminator 1? No. Is it as great as Terminator 2? Hell no. Is it better than Terminator 3? Yes. Is it better than Terminator Salvation? Fuck yes. Is it better than Terminator Genesis? Without question. Now, I love all the Terminator films. I enjoyed Salvation. It was pretty decent. Terminator 3 I really enjoyed. I was like a teenager when it came out, so it was kind of fun for me. And Genesis, I really liked. I didn't like how it kind of recast characters and all that kind of stuff. I was a little bit iffy on that, but it was a really entertaining film. I liked what they did with it. The Genesis concept was really cool, I thought. But this is a franchise that is just desperately clinging on to kind of the last remnants of relevancy that it has, and it's just constantly trying to reboot itself. It's like this franchise has become a Terminator that is just frantically trying to stay alive by any means possible. And at this point, I think the franchise is like the Terminator at the end of the original movie. It's crawling, with no legs left, like to get to Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor representing like, a resurgence in the popularity of the franchise where people are going to keep paying money to see like a new trilogy. It's never happening. These movies are never going to be like on the level of Marvel or Star Wars. They need to realize that. They need to stop trying to set up a new trilogy because it just isn't going to happen. But I really loved this one, and I would have loved to have seen a follow-up with, I forget her character now, but Dani Ramos, or Ramos. Loved that character. For me, what made this film really kick was the 2 new characters played by, what's her name? I love the actress, Mackenzie Davis, I think. Doesn't say on the back. And then the actress who played Danny, I thought that they were great. Arnold did a really good job. I love what they did with his character in the film. How it's a direct sequel to Terminator 2 was a lot of fun. I liked the new villain, even though he kind of seemed very bland in the trailers. And then we got Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor. It's a really fun, entertaining ride. The trailers made it look I don't know, the trailers were awful, honestly. I had such low expectations. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe when I revisit this, I'll go, oh yeah, it's not that good, is it? But I was really wrapped up in the news story, which I think really helps. And if you're just relying on nostalgia, it's going to be difficult to float the whole movie. But for this one, for me, it really worked. And it's a really nice alternate Terminator 3, I thought. But, you know, the idea of doing a new trilogy, it's just like, guys, come on, it's, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen a new trilogy of this timeline, but I think that they need to realize that Terminator is just, it's never going to be what it was. But even then, was it ever really a franchise to begin with? We had one movie in 1984. Then Cameron did a sequel just to kind of like expand upon everything, like what, 5, 6 years later. And that was it, you know. And then I think it was like 10, 12 years later before we had Terminator 3. You know, there's such big gaps, and it never plants itself down too firmly for any consistent period, and I think it should be left alone at this point. Okay, I really need to rattle through the rest of these now. This one I bought from Amazon maybe 2 months ago. I just seen the film Wild Rose, which is a phenomenal British film from last year starring Jessie Buckley. And I was tweeting about it, and someone said on my Twitter feed, you should check out Beast, which he also stars in, which is a British film, I'm fairly certain. I'm assuming it is. It must be. Yeah, film 4. Yeah, it's got to be a British film. So I looked at it, Beast, and I thought, yep, if she's in it, sold. And I just bought it with Amazon Prime, and it came in the mail the next day. And I, of course, put it on the stack and never touched it again. But, you know, I have every intention of watching this. I thought she was incredible in Wild Rose, and I want to see more of her work. So this is just one of those kind of really random blind buys that I decided to pick up. This one has a bit of meaning to me, actually, and this is another kind of interesting one where I thought I owned it, and I must have sold it during one of my purges in like the early 2010s. What a weird phrase that is to say. Yeah, maybe when I was moving to Norway or moving back, or no, it must have been when I was moving to Norway. Perhaps I sold this. It's a Tim Burton film, which I love, and I bought it because it wasn't in my Tim Burton Blu-ray collection. I have a box set with it has like I think Batman Returns, Beetlejuice, Mars Attacks, Pee-wee's something. Is it Pee-wee's Big Adventure or something? What other films were in there? There's quite a few. I think there's The Corpse Bride. It's like a big Tim Burton box set, but it didn't have one of my favorites, so I bought it separately. So I saw this on TV about a month or two ago. Came home from work Saturday afternoon. Just slumped down in bed. I was exhausted. I got up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and just flicked on the Sky channels, and this film was playing. And I thought, this is, yeah, you know. And then I just started watching, and then I was kind of getting wrapped up in it, and then I thought, okay, I'll turn it off. Went downstairs, Connie came back from work, and then I was like, can I just watch the end of this film? Just shh. You know, I just want to watch the ending is so powerful. I'm just like, what a film. And I thought, I want to watch it again. So I went to my collection and I was like, okay, it's not here, so I must have sold it, right? So I looked online, and that version is like out of print and sells for like big money. I was like, are you kidding me? But it turns out they re-released it recently. It's like a 25th anniversary edition or something like that. But apparently it has a better transfer than the original Blu-ray. And the film is, can you guess? Maybe you can, maybe you can't, I don't know. Edward Scissorhands. The cover's a bit weird for me. I like the original cover with the white background and just Edward. But yeah, I love this film. It was a film that I revisited when I bought the Blu-ray, maybe in 2011, 2012, and I just thought, wow, I loved the film when I was a kid. It always had such a weird atmosphere to me that I really gravitated towards for some reason. But seeing it again as an adult, I was like, that's a beautiful film. There's really something about it. So it's been probably like 7 years since I last saw it. So definitely one I'd like to revisit. Got the Blu-ray now, and yeah, it has an audio commentary with Tim Burton and a second audio commentary with Danny Elfman. That's really intriguing. I'm sure my original Blu-ray had that too, but yeah, really love this film. And that was another one. It was on Amazon for like £5. Ordered it, came the next day. So Prime is pretty convenient and useful at times when you just I want that film. Can I get it now? And then it comes in the mail, and again it just laid on my bedroom floor for a month. So finally we have 6 Poundland titles. So I can rattle through these fairly quickly. The first one is August Osage County. I almost watched this when it came out. I think it was in 2013, it must be. Because I remember this, yeah, it's 2013 film. 2013 for me was the most prolific year of my life of watching new movies. I watched like well over 100 new films, and this was on the hit list, but I never got to it. And it's got an amazing cast: Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts, Ewan McGregor. I think there's some other people in there that aren't even listed on the front of the cover. Benedict Cumberbatch, Juliette Lewis, you know, yeah, it's just a really, really top-notch cast. Don't know much about the story, but it's one of those ones I always wanted to watch, and for £2, definitely worth a pop. This one I have seen, it's Cloverfield. Did Matt Reeves do this one? Yes. So what really sold this for me was all the special features, because there's an audio commentary with Matt Reeves and all sorts of making of things, and this must be quite an old Blu-ray because it's like high definition special features. But yeah, 2008 this film came out. Really enjoyed this one. I've seen it once, and it's a good found footage movie. I forgot what it was now. There's a kind of shot at the end of the film that shows you like I think it's like I don't know. There's like a mini DV tape or something, which kind of threw me out of the movie because it's like that wouldn't contain all the footage that we've seen so far of the whole movie, and I just thought, why couldn't it have just been a memory card? Then you could feasibly get away with. But then it was just such a weird logic thing that I thought maybe I was the only person in the world who got hung up on that. But I really like this one. Definitely want to watch again at some point, and I love Matt Reeves as a director, so just to add that to the Matt Reeves section of my collection is a definite yes for £2, I think. This is a Christmas classic. I think everyone can agree it's maybe one of the great Christmas movies of all time, and that is Elf with Will Ferrell. I've actually never seen it. Everyone goes on about this film, and I'm really intrigued to see why. So yeah, looks like there's a few special features on there, but really I just want to see the film, see what the fuss is all about, because everyone goes on about Elf all the time when Christmas rolls around, and it's like, I think it came out 2002 or something, I'm guessing. Let's see, New Line Cinema, 2003 perhaps, 2004. I don't know. There's two different copyright dates on this. Either way, it's like it's over 15 years old. I've never seen it, so I would perhaps like to. Speaking of films I've never seen before from the early 2000s, we have Triple X. Yikes. I like dumb action movies. I've never seen it. I'm sure at one point Connie would like to watch it. She likes Vin Diesel. Let's just go with that at some point. You know, just one of those things that I remember when it came out and everyone was kind of talking about it. It was the year after Fast and Furious, the first one. So I probably had an interest in seeing it, but not enough to actually go out and watch it in the cinema, I suppose. Yeah, 2002. Why not? Why not? Eh? I like kind of big dumb action cinema. Case in point, Fast and Furious 6. So I have a box set that I got Connie for her birthday one year of the first 5 Fast and Furious movies. I think I got the 7th one somewhere. Yes, I got the 7th one from Poundland. Just adding it to the collection. This is a really good one. I think 5 and 6 are really damn good Fast and Furious movies. 7 is great for a kind of off-screen reason, I guess. 8 was just... yeah, but these really are to me at this point, you know, movies that I don't really pick up in Poundland, I think. But it was, you know, it's one to add to the Fast collection. Oh man, I didn't even mean to do this, but we're going to end on one last Blu-ray that I was so stoked to see in Poundland. It's a film I'd never even considered buying on Blu-ray. It's a film that I'd never even looked for on Blu-ray, but as soon as I saw it on the shelf in Poundland, it's like, why is that not in my collection? It is going straight into my collection for £2. You'd have to bite my hand off. I mean, you'd have to bite my hand off. Where was I going with that? To bite, what is that phrase? To bite the hand off. I know I was trying to be clever there, but it doesn't seem to fit the situation. You'd have to bite my hand off for me not to pick it up. Is that what I was going for? I don't know, Jeff. I'm going to leave this in. Awkward silence and all. You'd have to bite my hand off. That's not the phrase, is it? He bit my hand off, as in he was so keen. Yeah, so... yeah, you'd have to bite my hand off. No, that doesn't work. Oh my god, what am I doing? What am I doing? What are you doing? Continuing to watch and listen to this. Okay, I'll put you out of your misery and put myself out of my misery, and I will definitely leave all that in because fuck it. But this film is a childhood favourite and is a classic Christmas movie. I should have paired it with Elf to kind of show you a comparison of a classic Christmas movie I've never seen and a classic Christmas movie that it's just one of those things that just... It feels like this was always a gap in my collection that I never knew. It was a phantom gap that I've now filled with Santa Claus the movie. What a film. I love that. grew up on this movie. I watched it over and over again every Christmas, of course. The last time I saw it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago at my nan's house. I used to watch it at my nan's house, and I'll never forget, you know, a few years ago, it was on TV at Christmas, and it was the scene, well, one of the scenes where Santa Claus is kind of riding through the sky, and kind of the kind of dust is sprinkling from the reindeers, and you know, it's kind of a, you know, cheesy special effects shot. And my nan was watching it, and the music's playing, and she just went, "Magical, bloody magical," and I just was like Robert Redford, just like, "You damn right it is. It's a bloody magical." That's how you describe this film. You don't need to go into the plot really with this film. It's a Christmas movie. Dudley Moore's in it. John Lithgow is chewing up the scenery. He plays this like executive, I guess, who wants to create a sequel to Christmas, which is so funny. Like, I guess it's just like a way of making more money, like to do a second Christmas, like in the first quarter of the year, and just his over the top Christmas 2. It's just like he's so over the top, and the movie, it's a delight. The opening sequence that we see him arriving, I mean, and then you got Dudley Moore. It's such a weird kind of film in that sense when you really think about it, but just something about it really clicks. I'll leave that one in for triple free as well. But yeah, I was doing a super duper looper in my head when I saw this on the shelf. Grabbed it instantly, and I'm now going to put you out of your misery. This has been an incredibly long Blu-ray update, and I'm only halfway through. There's actually more Blu-rays in the stack than there was that I just talked about. Holy shit. It's a big one. It's a bumper one. I'll see you in part 2 if you have any inclination to join me for that one. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you mercifully in the next video.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans and calling into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.